The Stanley Cup Finals opens tonight, and hardly anyone would have predicted the two contenders who are going to face off on the ice. We've got Kevin Clark, Wall Street Journal sports correspondent, right here with us to tell us the Devils, the Kings. Who would have thought? Two underdogs. What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of an awkwardness around this series because it doesn't feel like a Stanley Cup Finals, and no one's going to dub this the Clash of the Titans or anything.
Right.
I mean, this is an 8 seed, so the worst playoff team in the Western Conference in the Kings, the 6 seed in the Devils, and really, you can't really predict that because, you know, sports is all about underdogs and favorites, and these guys are both underdogs.
Do you think this will attract, though, more than just the die-hard hockey fans?
I think there could be a problem. Number one is that you know the Devils toppled the New York Rangers, who would have brought a lot of fans from Manhattan and all over the country.
Yep.
Now you have just the fans around Newark who are going to tune in, and that's not so good. Ratings were actually down 11% in the Eastern Conference Finals from last year when it was Boston, and Boston's out, Washington's out, Philadelphia's out. Those are really teams that draw a lot of eyeballs, and so they're going to have trouble drawing it. And also Los Angeles, while it's a big city, is not a huge hockey market, so I think ratings could be way down. That's not so good for NBC. The other issue is these are not attractive teams as far as how they play. They're very defensive. It's two hot goaltenders. It's not, you know, open up and score 5 goals a game. It's going to be very ugly. It's going to be not marquee teams, and the NBC could have a problem.
Now, speaking of goaltenders, you know, Brodeur for the Devils, he's 40 years old. I think he's played his whole life on the Devils.
Yeah. Contract
is up at the end of this year, I think. What's going to happen with him? I mean, he's a pretty great storyline for people who aren't interested in hockey per se to follow.
He's amazing, and he's 40 years old. He said yesterday he doubts he'll retire. I don't think he's ever going to retire. He's going to be 60 and he's still going to be out there. It won't happen this year because he's played too good. I think he's given up 2 goals a game in this playoffs, which is outstanding. The NHL is all about goalies in the playoffs, and you can go 82 games and play very average and then turn it on in April and May, and all of a sudden you're in the finals. We've seen it in LA. They have Jonathan Quick, who's the Los Angeles Kings' great goaltender. He's given up 1.5 goals a game. And so really it doesn't matter what you do for 82 games. It just matters if you can perform in April and May. And so Martin Brodeur, he's 40 years old. He didn't put on the season of his life this year, but as long as he can do this, he can continue as long as he wants. The Devils have a spot for him as long as every time the calendar becomes April, he can turn it on.
Do you think that the Kings fans will taunt him with the Marty, the same way the Rangers ones do?
I think so. I think that the Rangers have a way of setting the agenda as far as fans go in the NHL. And I think that everyone was watching that series. They know the history of taunting Marty, Marty. And it's become famous, and I think Los Angeles fans were watching, so I think absolutely.
Now, just to wrap this up, I mean, you know, it's not a glamour series, but on the other hand, you've got the East meets the West. You got a couple good storylines there. I want to know your prediction.
I think the Devils will win. I think that they're a deeper team. You saw a guy named Ryan Carter, who nobody really knows, scored one of the biggest goals of the last series. They've got this roster where they've got guys coming out of nowhere, and they've got Martin Brodeur. And they have star power, Ilya Kovalchuk, Zach Parise, Travis Zajac, guys like that. So I think that their deep pool of talent is better than what the Kings have. And, you know, when it comes to an evenly matched series of 2 underdogs like this, I would take the 40-year-old who's going for yet another Stanley Cup.
All right, you heard it from Kevin Clark. He picks the Devils. That's it. We'll see what happens tonight. Thanks for being with us.